Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we were discussing the 11th chapter where Sri Krishna is showing his universal form, Vishwarupa Darshana as it is known. Now the first 36 verses, he shows different aspects of Ishvara or reality. And as we had discussed in our previous classes, that people want to see the pleasant form of God. But if you consider God as the ultimate reality, in totality, then there is a destructive side also. So we have the concept of Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, which is very logical because every cause has to have an effect. So if we see in most of the religions that God is the creator, he is the protector, but very rarely we come across the fact that God can be the destroyer also. So the concept of Shiva, now it doesn't mean that destruction of the gross leads to the destruction of the subtle or the causal state. The purpose of creation or the creator or creation, if you analyze it scientifically, is that whatever is created has to be destroyed someday or the other. Nothing is eternal or permanent in this gross universe. That is the great spiritual truth which all our Upanishads, Gita, and every scripture tells us, that no matter how nice a thing is, it has to have an end. Our own lives, the dear and near ones, as it is very clear here, the Vishwarupa which Krishna showed him. In the beginning, he showed him his glorious form. Then he showed his destructive form, where he sees the people who had assembled in front of him being destroyed. Krishna is already destroyed. And he says, Arjuna, he tells Arjuna that there is nothing you can do. I have already, according to the cause and effect theory, which is the theory of karma, everybody is going towards his or her destiny. So there's nothing to be surprised about. The cause will have its effect. So those who are going to die in this battle have already been killed by me. You just become an instrument. So you don't have to grieve either for the living or for the dead. That is what had the idea of killing his own relatives who had assembled on the side of adharma was a very painful decision Arjuna had to take. But since the cosmic reality is partial to none, it is we who get the fruits of our karma according to our deeds. So he's trying to explain to him that there are different aspects of Ishvara, which I have shown you. That is till verse 36 of Vishwarupa Darshana. And Arjuna, the great warrior, though he was a great warrior, a general who had fought so many battles, but even he was terrified when he saw the universal form, because God showed him, Sri Krishna showed him not only the good side, the pleasant side, but also the all-destructive form of his. So now he is going to request Krishna to take away. He said, I am now terrified by your this form, terrible form of yours. But the point that is being made here is that Ishvara, we are related in different ways to Ishvara. Now some have a friendly attitude towards Ishvara, and they benefit from that because they think the Lord is their own. Whereas there are some people whom the world, they are described as God-fearing. So when you say God-fearing, you fear someone who is like a ruler, or who is someone like a taskmaster, who will give you whatever you deserve. Though it is due to karma, there is a concept of creator who gives, who sees that the law of karma or dharma is followed in the universe. So he doesn't have any particular preference towards any people. Depending on what your attitude is towards God, how you relate yourself to Ishvara, your attitude in life towards Ishvara will decide your future. That is what is being said in this verse, till verse number 36. But Arjuna, as I said, when he saw the pleasant side of the Lord, he was praising him. And suddenly he sees the terrible side. And then he says, you please withdraw this form. I don't want to see. Though that is the reality. So reality is both beyond good and evil. So one has to transcend it, because anything that is created has to be destroyed. That's the idea behind our Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. Brahma creates, Vishnu maintains the play, that is the drama of life, Leela, and Shiva is given the role of destruction. Destruction of the gross, not of the eternal Atman, which cannot be destroyed at all. So the whole of spirituality lies in understanding this concept of what is our relationship to this Ishvara. So Thakur Sri Ramakrishna in his very beautiful, simple language, without going into this deep philosophy here, which is described here now, he says in his very simple words that we have to develop a kind of personal relationship with God, like friend or maybe father or mother. So it's not that they are human, but we attribute our human touch to Ishvara. And we get in return the response in the form of human support. Because that is what we understand. If we consider God to be someone sitting above the clouds and giving justice, who is merciless, and in the final day of judgment, he will say either you go to hell or you go to heaven, then it's a very terrible thing. We consider this king to be God to be the king or the ruler who gives judgment. So people wish, and Arjuna understands this, that I don't want that form of God. I want a God. And Sri Krishna says only the spiritually advanced people, that is what he is going to discuss from 37 verse. So the whole Vishwarup Darshana begins with the gross aspect, the transient aspect of Ishvara. And then he says, if you want to benefit from your relationship with Ishvara or the Lord, who can give you justice, no doubt. He is the ruler, he is the Antaryami, he is neutral, but at the same time he can be merciful, he can be destructive to people, evil people. So he will not hesitate to carry out what is necessary. But since the world is transitory, whatever is there in his creation, he has created and he has the right to destroy it in the gross sense. But the eternal Atman is never destroyed. So what is the best way to look upon Ishvara? So Sri Ramakrishna says people are related in various ways to Ishvara. If you consider him as a king, then you will get that kind of response. You will get a judgment, and if you have done good, maybe he will reward you. But that is a business type of relationship with Ishvara. But rishis, they are different. They consider the Ishvara as their friend or relative, maybe like a father or mother, and spiritually advanced people can even consider him to be their companion. Somebody who is very close, like Arjuna. For everything he went to Sri Krishna not as a god or lord or something, but just as a friend. And he used to trust his friend. He was his friend, philosopher, and guide. So that these kinds of attitude, Sri Krishna wants to emphasize now, that is what should be nurtured by the devotees. Not look upon him as a ruler of the universe. There are many religions which believe that God is the ruler. Then, of course, you have to follow the rules of judgment, which the king will use to give justice to us. He is not just a king who gives justice to good people, that gives good things to good people and bad things to evil people. We can have that relationship also. In fact, a majority of the people have that kind of relationship. But those who are really spiritually advanced, they just want to consider him to be their own, like a friend, like a father or a mother. That is what Sri Ramakrishna says. But here, verse number 37 to verse number, say, 43 or 44, you'll find Sri Arjuna telling him the same thing. But he says it in Sanskrit in different ways. He says, I've seen your wonderful side, the protective side of the Ishvara, that is Krishna, and I've seen your destructive side. Now you please withdraw both of, I don't want that. I just want to see you as a good friend of mine. So he says in the next verse, verse number 37, Kasmat chate naren mahatman gariyase brahmanopya di kartre ananta devesha jagan nivasa tvamaksharam sadasat param yat. So what he says is, why should they not? Oh, great souled one, he is addressing. Now these are Arjuna's words. You are greater than all. After seeing the glory of, because that was his desire, he was so far considering him to be a very close friend, a friend, philosopher, and guide. But suddenly he got that desire, I want to see your real form. And he showed his real form, and now he is terrified. Towards the end of verse 36, he was just terrified because he saw so many people being crushed, and the scene is horrible. I mean, even a brave warrior, he was full of fear. So he says, now he start trying to praise him because he wants to get rid of the terror. He wants to see Krishna in his original form as the friend. But at the same time, he has now realized his greatness. He says, oh, you are the great souled one. Nameran, no doubt all these rishis, and because he sees that vision, there are these rishis all praying to the Lord, the powerful form of the Lord. So he said, they will pray to you because you are the primal cause. Even Brahma is created from you. O infinite being, you are Ananta Devesha, means you are the Lord of all the gods, whether they are gods of creation, gods of preservation, or gods of destruction. They are all part of you. You are the Lord of all gods. You are the abode, Jagan Nivasa. You are the abode of the universe. In fact, you are the substratum of this universe. Everything exists because you are there. You are upholding everything. You are the imperishable. So now he has realized that there is some eternal quality to Ishvara. And if you realize it, the sooner you realize it, the better. Because if we get caught up in the changing form of Ishvara, then we get deluded. So what is the way? He says, you are the being, you are the non-being. This is as far as philosophy is concerned. And that which is supreme. You are neither existence nor non-existence. Because he sees in the Lord, all these things are happening, and at the same time, he is not affected. Tat Param, you are that supreme reality. Now, this idea of calling first, because that is the first reaction Sri Arjuna has towards Sri Krishna. Because the first sign after 36 verses of seeing all the various forms, Vishwarup Darshan actually, people just say that, okay, what is there to, there's no philosophy in that. Why should we waste our time? There is 12th chapter, and the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, Dhyana Yoga is there, meditation. What is the purpose of reading all these things? It will not only terrify us, but maybe we'll spend sleepless nights. If you just imagine the verses, if you just read the description till verse 36, if Arjuna is terrified, we might even have those nightmares. So that is the idea. But Sri Krishna very kindly gives him the power of yoga, because that's what he said. All these things are seen only by Arjuna and Sanjaya. All others are just wondering what is going on between the two. No one had that Divya Chakshu, that divine vision with which they could see reality. It's Arjuna's privilege that he could see it, and Sanjaya's privilege that he could, because he was given that special power. He had to explain everything to Dhritarashtra, though he was sitting far off. So apart from these two, this nobody else, not even the other Pandavas, and of course not the Kauravas, but then they saw that these two people are talking to each other and something is going on. But in the meantime, in this 18 chapters, you will find so much of things have transpired. And he says that he is Ananta, that is infinite, because he is transcended space, time, and causation. So those words are coming out, though he does not accept that. He has come to fight a battle. There's nothing eternal that he's meditating upon. But seeing this, he just gets a feeling of vairagya, that you see, after all of us have gathered, and you have shown that most of the people who are here are going to die. And Krishna is telling him, I have already killed them. You just are the instrument. So he knows that also. And finally, he sees some kind of purposelessness in this life. If life is going to change, and then the values for which we are asked to follow the path of dharma and the path of adharma, those who are following, we have to deal with them, we have to kill them, then what's the use? All these temporary things, all this kingdom, everything is going away. But there is some reality which is eternal beyond time, space, and causation. So then he says, you are like the big ocean, and these waves are temporary things. Even the big Mahabharata war is like a big wave which is going to subside. Everything will be peaceful later on. But again, there will be, whenever there is creation, there will be destruction. So he is the abode. Jagan Nivasa means he is the abode. He is like the ocean. There may be big waves, small waves, big waves, drowning the small waves and just destroying them. But at the same time, the ocean is not affected. That is how he says he is Jagan Nivasa. And then he says all these things, Brahma, Vishnu, and everyone, they come from that eternal reality and they merge back into the eternal reality. So then he says, verse number 38, he says, now there is no other way. Having realized the greatness of Ishvara by direct vision, you see, it's not just philosophy. Sri Krishna has shown him, and there is no doubt in his mind that he is about the greatness of this reality which he's seeing. So that is the difference between academic understanding of spiritual truths and perceiving these truths. So when Sri Ramakrishna says anything in the gospel, he sees because he has seen them, he has perceived them. He is not giving an academic talk. We talk out of some kind of academic understanding of these verses, but we have not understood. Like Arjuna understood it because he was shown the reality. To know about reality will give you a glimpse of what the Vishwaroop of Sri Krishna is, of Ishvara is. But only a person of spiritual stature of Arjuna, or the lucky ones, the rishis, they will know the Lord in essence. So what is the way now? So we have these different prayers. We have the Gayatri Mantra. All these are in praise of the Lord. So those who are wise, they, instead of trying to be curious and try to find out who this God is, and they just resort to prayer. That's why when the sadhaka rises, the spiritual aspirant rises in spiritual stature, he gives up all the curiosity. He doesn't want to know what is the nature of God, what is karma. Only the people who are at a lower level will ask questions. Why there is so much of misery in this world and everything. They want an explanation. But those who have seen the vision, Arjuna is now completely, his doubts have been cleared. That's why now he resorts to prayer. Perhaps till now he was just considering Krishna as a friend. But now after seeing this, he starts praising him. That is because he has understood him in reality who the Lord is. So that is why Sri Krishna, Ramakrishna, if you see Swami Sarvasthananda quotes, Sri Ramakrishna used to give a very simple technique. He said, 3 things you have to know about God and about your purpose in life. He said, first try to know who I am. I am means referring to himself, to know who Ishvara is. Second thing is to know who you are. So if we hold on to our limited individuality, like I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, or I'm so and so, I have money. So these are all upadhis. That's not the real I. If you know who you are in reality, with relationship to who the Lord is in reality, and then what is the relationship between us. So every devotee who came to Sri Ramakrishna in the gospel, if you see, he'll say these 3 questions you answer. Who are you? Who am I? And what is our relationship? So that is what here Arjuna is telling the same thing. Now he's trying to find out who is this Krishna who has just now shown his universal form. So he starts with praise, and that is what all of us do. We don't know what God is, what the Lord is. We want to know, but we don't know. We don't know in essence. So we start with praise. That is what he says. A spiritually advanced person will start praising and trying to find out from the scriptures what are his qualities. So Sri Krishna is now being addressed by Arjuna. He is saying, Tvamadi Deva Purusha Purana Tvamasya Vishwasya Param Nidhanam Vetasi Vedyam Cha Param Cha Dhama Tvaya Tatam Vishwam Ananta Rupa. So you are the Adi Deva, the God who existed right from the beginning, because he saw the whole manifestation of birth, preservation and death of every individual in a flash. In the first 36 verses, these verses was actually what Arjuna saw. It is not just an explanation given by a professor. It is just a vision by the divine vision which was given to Arjuna. He really saw before his eyes the whole transformation. And he saw that he is Adi Deva. That is why he is praising him. Purusha Purana, you are the most ancient person. Because I see these changes in you, but you existed even before that. Asya Vishwasya Param Nidhanam, and you are the support. Because people are born in your universal form, Ishvara's universal form. They live in your form. You are sort of a antaryami. You pervade everything that exists. And when they are destroyed, they also merge in you. You are the Param Nidhanam. Nidhanam means refuge. And by trying to know you, you'll know everything that is in the universe. That is what Upanishads say, that by knowing one, you know everything. By knowing truth, by knowing Ishvara. You are the supreme abode where ultimately I have to go. Not only me, but all the things which are transient have to find their rest in the Lord, ultimately. If that wisdom comes, which Arjuna has by virtue of this wonderful vision he had, so he gets a feeling, he gets a very strong intuitive understanding that he sees everywhere there is Lord. Wherever there is creation, there is that Krishna. And wherever this drama of life is going on, there is Krishna. And when everything is destroyed, but still Krishna remains. So you are the eternal abode, Vishwam, Ananta Rupa. You are manifesting yourself through these different forms. So you are the primal God, you are the ancient Purusha, you are the supreme abode of all this that we see around us. You are the knower, that which is to be known by our effort or by your grace, and the knowable, the supreme abode. The universe is pervaded by you, O being of infinite forms, because he showed his different forms. He didn't just give a talk. He just showed him what are the different forms that a Lord, Ishvara, can assume. So, after this verse, we'll see what he exactly wants to convey. Because after showing this, which evoked a reaction in Arjuna. It's not that Arjuna was a fool, he knew everything. But Arjuna had, by reading the Shastras, a theoretical knowledge. It's like you know everything, but suddenly the Lord appears before you and shows you. Then you get an intuitive understanding. So Sri Ramakrishna, when he said Mother exists, he was not happy. He said, yes, many saints are praising Mother and they say the Divine Mother, but I want to see her. I want to realize. Till he saw, he was restless. He was only satisfied when he had the ultimate vision. So here also, till chapter number 10, Arjuna was listening to everything and asking questions, and so many questions he asks, because somehow he wanted to avoid this war. Though he was a very powerful general, if you see in the first chapter, he is almost terrified. He is overwhelmed by the mighty presence of a huge Kaurava army on the other side, many of whom are his relatives. His own teacher is on the other side. So there's no doubt that he was afraid, and it took a lot of effort in the first few chapters for Krishna to to give him the energy or the strength to regain his balance, his mental balance. But now, after the Vishwarup Darshana, he came to a stage, the first 10 chapters, if you see, he discusses many things. Many times Arjuna is confused. He said, you tell me what I have to do. We are telling so many things. And in fact, he will say many more things till 18th chapter. There are 700 verses. So not that his doubts will go, but in this chapter, he gets a glimpse of what Sri Krishna, what reality is. And once that is done, then he is trying to express whatever he sees. Then he is just going on praising now the Lord, but the main verses will come later. In 39, he says, you are Vayu, you are Yama, you are Agni, Varuna. These are all the different aspects of creation, which he just now saw. You are the great Pitamaha, you are the great grandfather. You are 1,000 times I salute you, because I can't comprehend your greatness. And again I salute you. So this is the second one. Then the next verse, which is also, he just doesn't know how to express his, not surprise, express the glory of the Lord in words. So he's just going on giving all sorts of adjectives. He says, salutations to you before, salutations to you from behind, from every side. O all, you are the all. Sarvataha, you are everywhere. Infinite in might and immeasurable in strength. Amita Vikramaha, you are infinite in powers. I just have a taste of your glory. And Samapnoshi, you are pervading everyone. In the dead person, in the living person, in the person who is killing. You seem to be everywhere. You pervade all, because he showed his terrible form also. People getting killed. They were all part of the vision. The good side, the fight and the destruction of all the enemies, or destruction of all those who followed adharma, everything was seen by him. So you are all. It's not that you are in the good people only, you are in the bad, you are everywhere. Everywhere and in everything. So now he is getting some kind of understanding, though it is not full understanding. He says, but at the same time, you support those who follow dharma. And one who, this much he has understood, that I am on the side of dharma and fighting adharma. So whatever be the consequence of this, I have not made any mistake. So now he is, now that he has understood his relationship with Krishna, which is not just a friend, but this almighty power, which is Ishvara or Sri Krishna. So he now says, this is a wonderful verse. He said, you are all this, but I don't want your glorious form. And he says, I just prefer to be as Thakur. When some people asked him deep philosophical questions about the nature of God, why there is so much evil, sometimes he used to get disgusted. He said, Bapu, I don't know anything. I just know God is there, she is my mother, and I am the child. If you want to answers to these questions, you go to some Pandit. So similarly here, you will find that he is, though trying to express the glory of the Lord, which he cannot do. No words can describe the glory of the Lord. And he understands the problem of trying to express the glory of somebody whose glory is inexpressible. You can't express it. Just, it's like a small child trying to understand his father or mother. He knows very little. But finally the child is tired and then he says, no, I just give up because I don't want to know your glory. I just want to know that you are mine and I am yours. That is the final conclusion, which Sri Ramakrishna also says. A true devotee will not bother. He will not bother about the glories of the Lord whom he is praising. So now he is changing. He revises his relationship with Sri Krishna, though he first expresses all the great things. You are the indestructible, this, that. But then he says, what is the use of all that? What is the relationship between you and me? That is more important. So he says, Sakheti matva prasavam yaduktam, he Krishna, he Yadava, he Sakheti, ajanata mahimanam tavedam, maya pramadat pranayena vapi. So he says, whatever I have said till now, I mean, he tried to praise him, but he knew that it's like a child trying to give an estimate or try to understand the glory of his father. Of course, obviously, the child is not going to understand. So he says, whatever I have said rashly or whatever incomplete adjectives I have given to describe your glory, they are said from carelessness, or not only carelessness, but out of love, knowing fully well that you are not going to scold me for that. Addressing you as Krishna, O Yadava, and looking on you as a mere friend. Because I am ignorant. I don't want, he realizes that it's impossible to know the Ishvara in all his glory. And it's not possible with the ordinary human mind, though he had seen the vision. He says, now you've just become my friend. You be my friend. And I am ignorant of your greatness. And if I have incompletely described your glory, I mean, or through ignorance, I might have even insulted you sometimes. You see, we don't understand. Though he was a friend, sometimes he used to quarrel with Krishna. So he just realizes, oh, he's Ishvara himself. And how many times I have made fun of him. And he says, just for fun, sometimes I might have insulted you while at play, reposing, sitting, at meals, or when alone, or in company of others. I implore you, O immeasurable one, to forgive me. Because it is, now he has realized that I was considering him as a simple person. There's a wonderful incident in the life of Turyananda. When Swamiji passed away, he was very sad. So then, one day, he was just so sad when he came back from San Francisco. Though he had a vision, Swamiji had sent him to do work in America. And even he had a vision of the Divine Mother saying that if you stay here, a lot of good work will be done. But somehow, the human attachment which he had for Swamiji, he just had a premonition that something is going to happen to Swamiji. And he loved him dearly, not as a great person, because they were all Guru Bhais. Similar is the situation here. So he knows that as a friend, I have made fun of Krishna and then quarreled with him. Many things I have done. Now he realizes I should not have done. Similarly, Turyananji, when he was returning back, unfortunately, before he could reach India, he gets the news by telegram that Swamiji has passed away. So he had brought some nice gold watch and many things for Swamiji, golden plated watch. So he got so much upset that whatever he had brought, because Swamiji is no more there, so he threw the whole thing into the sea. He was still traveling, and before he reached one of the ports, he gets a telegram, and that Swamiji has passed away. So he was just so disappointed that he does not even spend time with his Guru Bhais. He goes to Banaras and many other places. And one day he was sitting near the pond, and then he just sees the reflection of the moon. And then he says, you see, when I saw the moon, the fishes who are in the pond, they see the reflected light of the moon, the beautiful moon, which is far off. But because it is reflected in water, they just go around it and play with that image of the moon, or that reflection of the moon. But after all, we were playing with the reflection. The real moon was somewhere else. So he said, Swamiji, now we realize we were all like friends, and we just thought you are one of us, maybe slightly more intelligent, but now we understand. Means he said, I understand that you played with us like the reflection of the moon plays with the fishes. Our place is, we just thought the reflection to be real, whereas you were far beyond our reach. So similarly here, after seeing this wonderful vision or wonderful Vishwarupa Darshana, which he gets by the grace of Sri Krishna, Arjuna says, many times I might have just playfully, or while playing, while eating, I might have insulted you, I might have done so many things to you, said so many things to you, so please forgive me. So this dramatic change in the attitude of Sri Krishna, of Arjuna towards Sri Krishna, is expressed in this verse. So he says, the commentator says here that this is the first stage. First, there is this, we wonder at the glory. A devotee or a disciple first wants to see the glory. He wants to see the greatness. But then he says that attitude suddenly changes, and then you consider the Lord as just as a human being, as a father or mother. And then all the human relationships come, and then you say, please forgive me. They suddenly forget that there's no question. The Lord is far, far, far superior than any other created thing in the world. But then Arjuna is still that human side of his thinks that he has committed a mistake. How could I treat Arjuna or Krishna as a friend? Though he's my friend, but then he's terrified. He said, maybe I've done wrong. Then he says such a wonderful verse. These are the few verses which are taken from the Gita. These are part of the daily prayers of Hindus. If you can't read the Gita, they ask you to start reciting these next three verses, which is the essence of the Gita. It's like for devotees who want to teach their children how to pray. Because here he is in the position of a child now. So how do you pray? Just as there are prayers in every religion, in every faith, here this is a wonderful prayer which is very often recited. Just like we recite Gayatri Mantra, praying for light, praying for illumination, praying for wisdom, praying for the faculty of the mind which can make us take the right decision in life, always take the right decisions at the right time. That is wisdom, viveka. But how does it come? It comes first by reciting these prayers. So I think through Arjuna, Sri Krishna, of course, Arjuna is praying to Sri Krishna here, but it can be applied to any other Ishta or Lord. He says, what are the different adjectives? He says he has not left out anything. He says, Pitasi lokasya characharasya tvamasya pujyasya gurur gariyan Natva samostya vyadika kutonyoho lokatrayepi pratima prabhava. So, are you a father? Oh Lord, you are my father. You are like my father. Pitasi lokasya. You are the father not only of me, of the whole world. Chara acharasya, that is of the moving and unmoving, not just of the moving things, not just of human beings, animals, but also of the stones of the inanimate world. You are the father of everything, of the whole world. Pita asi lokasya chara acharasya. Acharasya means that which does not move, and chara means that which moves. So for both inanimate and animate, you are the father. Now, how do I look upon you? You are the revered. Twama asya pujya cha gurur gariyan. You are greater than all the gurus. You are not only the guru of the world, the teacher, but you are the supreme among the teachers. You have to be revered as the guru or gariyan, even weightier, more mightier than the guru. Na tva sama. There is no one in this universe equal to you. Asti abhyadika means greater than you. And where else? You are the greatest guru, and no one exists greater than you in this universe, who is equal to you in all these three worlds. Who then can excel you, O being of unequaled power? So now there is a similar incident in the life of Sri Ramakrishna when Swami Sarvasthananda was asking him about sadhana. He had many interesting conversation with Sri Ramakrishna. So one day he sang a beautiful Bengali song. I will not recite that song. That gives the essence of what Arjuna is saying or praying to describe Sri Krishna. And that prayer is quite similar to what is described here. So there also, Sri Ramakrishna says, if you recite this every day, and if you are able to even understand at least one of the bhavas which are expressed in this verse, then you don't have to do anything. Means what Sri Ramakrishna was meaning is there are many ways of approaching the Lord. So Natha tumi sarvasva amar pranadhar sarat sar nahi tuma bine kehu tribhuvane bolibar apanar. Means I don't have the same meaning. There's nobody in the three worlds whom I can say is my own. Natha means you are the father. So exactly it's like a Bengali translation of this verse. Natha tumi sarvasva amar. You are the greatest. You are the father of all the fathers. You are my father. Pranadhar. You are the support of my prana. I am living because you are supporting my prana. Adhar means support. You are the support of my prana. You are the essence of essences. Whatever essence I have with which I am living, you are the essence of that. You are the support of that. So here, and nahi tuma bine keho tribhuvane. Tribhuvane means in the three worlds. So exactly you can say it's a Bengali translation of this. Of course, it's an independent song. And Sri Ramakrishna said, if you can at least understand or hold on to one of the bhavas or one of the moods that is described in this song, you don't have to understand the whole song. It's a long song. It has three major stanzas. But he said, you don't have to read. After chanting this, after reciting this, if you can hold on to one of the bhavas, that would be sufficient for you. So here also, he is trying to praise him. What should the sadhaka do then? Is this praise just enough? He's praising him, Pitasi Lokasya Chara Charasya, like what this Bengali song describes. That you are our support, you are our support of our prana, we are living because of you, you are the father of and the guru of gurus. So what should then he do? Now he says, he gives an example what after after saying this kind of prayer, he says he's chanting another prayer, with which he's trying to tell the Lord that now I am praising you, but that is not enough. I have not understood you, but what I expect from you and what I ought to do after knowing your real nature. Tasmat pranamya pranidhaya kayam prasadaye tvam mahamisha medium piteva putrasya sakheva sakyu priya priyayar arhasi deva sodhum. Means, what it means is, therefore I am bowing down to you, doing sashtang pranam, prostrating my body, and I implore you, O adorable Lord, you forgive me, because I have committed a lot of mistakes. Bear with me, O Lord, just as a father bears with his son. Piteva putrasya, pita eva putrasya. How does a father, in spite of all the mistakes the son does, he tends to forgive him. So you are my father, so you have to forgive me. Or as a friend with a friend, or as a lover with a beloved. So in these relationships, there's no give and take. Whether you consider the Lord to be your beloved, consider him to be a friend, or consider him to be a father, then the law of cause and effect is not applicable. But if you consider him to be the king and you expect justice, then he says, okay, I'll give you justice. You have done so many good things, take this. But when the effect of the karma goes away, then again you are in trouble. So the best is, he has understood now that you may have a lot of powers, you are the creator, destroyer, and preserver, but the greatness of the Lord, as Sri Ramakrishna said, if you think that the Lord is great and focus or harp upon his greatness, then you don't go close to him. The devotee, true devotee, doesn't want to understand. He just knows, I am helpless, and just as a father or a mother or a friend, you just get done through me whatever needs to be done to understand you. So in a way, the glory or greatness, too much of praising the Lord, Arjuna has understood it by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, of Sri Krishna, that by praising, you are distancing yourself from the Lord. You can never praise, one can never praise, because what do we know? No. That is why one incident is there when Girish Chandra Ghosh was trying to express many things, out of emotion. He said, you are the greatest of avatars, this, that. He had tremendous faith, no doubt. But he thought, then Sri Ramakrishna, just to destroy his ego, he said, who are you to praise me? And what do you know of the glory of the Lord? Means his idea was not to criticize him, but to tell him that no matter how much you try to express poetically or otherwise the greatness of the Lord, you'll still fall short. So don't bother, and that will distance you from the Lord. If you say he's great, if you say he's a king, if you say he's a protector, he's the ruler, and he will give you justice, they are good attitudes, in the sense it's better to be God-fearing than not care for God. But they do not imply that you will get spiritual benefit out of that relationship. You'll get justice. Obviously, if you consider the Lord to be one who gives you justice, as most 90% of the people who follow religion do that. They have a business-like attitude towards the Lord. So I give you something and you give me this. I want this, so I'll do this for you. So always either they go out of fear to these places of worship, fear of what, if I don't go, maybe my career there will be some problems. And if there is a problem, if I go, maybe he will solve it in some miraculous way. But that is a very distant relationship. Of course, that also works. But it is a very inferior way of approaching God. That gulf is there. You just are bothered about what you want in life. And for that, you need God. Once you get it, then you don't need God. That's like a typical business attitude. It's a transactional attitude you have towards God. That is what most of us do. Our attitude is transactional. We don't love God for the sake of loving Him, or for the ultimate benefit that we can get from that relationship. So here in this verse, it is very clear, as Sri Ramakrishna said, that if you go on glorifying the Lord, which Arjuna tried to do, but he understood his mistake, he said, who am I to understand? I can't even comprehend a little bit of your greatness. He was given such a powerful vision by Krishna that what he thought he knew about Krishna, he was far beyond that. So he said, it's foolish on my part to try to estimate your greatness, and that greatness is distancing me. I don't want, you may be great. Like Sri Ramakrishna used to say that a child doesn't love the father or mother because it's rich, even if a poor child. For him, mother is everything. He doesn't bother, oh, if you are rich, I love you. If you are poor, I don't love you. That is not what a child behaves. He doesn't behave, he or she doesn't behave with the parents like that. Even if the parents are poor, he loves his parents or her parents. So Arjuna is instinctively on the right path by coming back to that old relationship with. He says, you are like my father, you are like my friend. And that handicap of distance between the Lord and yourself. That is why Sri Ramakrishna used to say, you have to have one bhava. Try to know who I am till to the maximum extent you can. And also try to know who you are. That means try to know who you are not. When you want to know who you are, you have to continuously use the path of negation, neti neti. I am not this. Am I only this? If I am a doctor, then I am, apart from medicine, in other fields I am nobody. So that is my limited identity. But as a human being, of course I have. But then we try to limit ourselves in our roles. But if I am the spirit and the Lord is the supreme spirit, then our relationship becomes eternal. So he says, all other relationships are temporary, with father and mother, I'm talking of the biological parents, the biological relatives. But really, our relationship to God alone is eternal. So, Sri Ramakrishna's, there is this wonderful example. Among all the devotees, why Sri Krishna loved the gopis? Because they did not want anything from Sri Krishna. There is a beautiful incident when Uddhava is sent. Because Uddhava and this Narada, they all believed that they are far more greater devotees than these gopis. So Krishna wanted to teach them a lesson. So he said, why don't you go to Vrindavan? Because Sri Krishna never went to Vrindavan. After he left at the age of 13 or 14, the gopis were always missing him, and he never came back to Vrindavan. In fact, though he loved them so deeply and they loved him so deeply, but their love was not human love, it was an eternal love. And that to show that Uddhava is sent by Sri Krishna, there's a beautiful incident. He said, go to Vrindavan. So Uddhava was very proud that he was a great devotee, he was always doing japa and all those things. So he goes there. So when he goes, normally when you go to the Lord, you ask the Lord what he can do for you. But here he found none of them even bothered. They just wanted, they did not even once say that we are missing Krishna. That means I miss Krishna and he should come. They said, no, how is he? Is he getting good food? Because they have seen him as a 13-year-old boy. And they were concerned that he is in a far-off place. Does he have proper food? Is his health okay? We have not seen him for... All the questions they were asking were about how he was. So they did not... They loved the Lord so much that they were just concerned about his welfare. And they were suffering themselves, but they never complained. Whereas Narada and all these devotees, Uddhava and all, they were very sad that they cannot get this, they cannot get peace of mind. They approach the Lord for so many things. Here they have gone beyond that stage. The gopis loved him so much. For them, the only thing they asked him was, how is our Krishna? And how is he? So they always considered him as their dear and near. Not that they wanted anything from him. In fact, he was just 13 or 14. There are so many wrong ideas about the relationship between Krishna and the gopis. He was just a small child. It was a kind of eternal love. That's why Sri Ramakrishna once told Swamiji, he said, is it true? I mean, that can there be people like that, forgetting everything, their family, everything, they loved him so much. He said, see, even if it is historically not true, the person who has conceived of this idea of Madhura Bhava, of gopis towards Krishna, you should appreciate that. Right. Okay. So the time is over. If there are questions, if maybe one question, we started late.
There is one question.
Yeah.
Somebody said,
So we came up, we have discussed up to verse number 44. And now Arjuna will plead from 45 onwards. Said, I don't want, I've seen enough of your Vishwarupa. Now show me your gentle form so that I come back to normal. Yeah.
somebody said, I can't even comprehend love as a thing. But then how can I love God?
You cannot comprehend?
Comprehend the love.
Hmm.
Then how may I love Bhagwan?
Yeah, that is true. We really don't understand. Our love is always selfish. At least you are honest about it. So the question is 100% true. Because once Premanandji told some of the disciples, because Premanandji was supposed to be was so close to Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna himself said he has the Gopi Ansha. He is like the gopis. So his desire was so pure that Sri Ramakrishna used to always take him. And his love was pure. Then somebody asked him when he was traveling to Bangladesh and some other parts of Bengal. So he was asked, when will we develop prema? Prema means that is what love. So the question was, we don't even have human love, so how can we have this divine love? Yeah, obviously, that's why we don't find gopis everywhere. Gopis come once in a while. Our love is limited to our selfish interests. That is why the Upanishad says, you love the husband for the sake of, not for the sake of the self, not for the sake of the husband. Whereas here, or you love the son for the sake of the self, because the son gives you happiness, the daughter gives you happiness, the friends and the relatives give you happiness. If the day they don't give you happiness, you just discard. You don't feel like loving them. That's human love. Whereas here, Sri Krishna never cared. You imagine the love these gopis had. He never came back. People don't know this, that once he left Vrindavan, that was his last, and he just was so detached. But he knew that these people are not loving me for their own selfish interest. They just want to see me happy. And that is true love. So, as you said, as the whoever has asked the question, it is difficult. Definitely it is difficult. So Premanandji was asked, how can we develop that prema which gopis had? Then he gave a very blunt answer, which was very unpalatable to most of them. He said, can you sacrifice your head? So they were shocked. What does it mean? I mean, who will sacrifice one's head to get that kind of love? He said, it is as difficult as that. They did not bother about their own selfish interest. Till they lived, their only desire, that is true love, their only desire was, is Krishna happy? Is the Lord whom we love, his happiness was their prime concern. And they were unhappy, not that the gopis were criticized. You see, their families, they were thrown out. Many of them were thrown out of the house. Because even Mirabai, if you see, who had that kind of devotion towards Krishna, how much she had to suffer. She was poisoned because she was belonged to a royal family, and none of them liked but she never gave up. She just followed her devotion wherever it took her, and the Lord protected her. Of course, though they tried to poison and kill her many times, somehow she was saved because her only interest was that deep devotion towards Sri Krishna. So, yes, what you said, as Premananji said, it's not so easy to love, but then at least if we see these verses, love also has different grades. So even praising the Lord by doing prarthana, by doing various different prayers, by praising Him, there are so many Vishnu Sahasranama. These are for uh, people who have started their spiritual journey. There's nothing wrong in that. But that is not true love. If we understand that and then try to increase to the extent we can, try to be as unselfish as possible when we deal with the Lord, and don't demand or don't expect anything from Him. Whatever He gives, it's fine. Krishna left them, they were fine in the sense they didn't complain, they didn't even have a single moment to repent. That is the greatness of these gopis. Then they just, the day he left, they were worrying about him. After 40 years also, their love was same. And the moment they came across somebody who was with Krishna a few weeks ago, so they just asked him only one question: how is he? Not that we are missing him, he is so rude, he left us. But those whose love is not perfect. If human love, we always think what I can get. If somebody ignores us, we get angry, then our love vanishes. So that is not true love. So shall we stop? Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.